everyone, and welcome. Thank you for joining us today for this conversation with Natalia and Oriol. We're so pleased they could both join us, although they're in different locations on different sides of the Atlantic, which, as I was saying a bit earlier, really speaks, I think, to the the essence of what this whole Cinemobility initiative is all about, working between spaces, between Latin America and the Caribbean and Europe, as so many of us do, and you know what results out of that, both in terms of you know the work that we do, and you know the audiences that we're making and curating work for. So Natalia and Oriol, maybe I'll start by talking about, well, we're here to talk about Miriam Miente in particular, and that bio that the later end of you talks about your first two films being documentaries and this being a fiction film. But I know you think of all your work, and you have a brand new film that has just premiered, a film about couples. But you talk about all your work being fiction, because even the so-called documentaries have very creative elements to them. But I also know that you didn't, as many filmmakers do, start off by making a documentary with the intention of then moving on to fiction and leaving documentary behind. But Miriam Miente was actually your first project in terms of the first film that you intended to make. But then for various reasons, you made Tuyo and Sight of Sights before making Miriam Miente. So maybe we could start there. How you came to want to make Miriam Miente as your first film, and then how it ended up not being the first film that you made, but your third.
Yes, it was supposed to be our first film, but we couldn't get the support needed. So we just wanted to make a film. When you come out of film school, you want to make a film. So we didn't want to wait anymore. And we just thought, well, let's buy a little camcorder and a camera, and let's just make a film about something that it is not so complicated. So that's how we started with You and Me. At that time, we were in Santo Domingo looking for producers and money to make Medium Lives. And right next to our bedroom was a kitchen, my grandmother's kitchen. And she was talking to her maid. She was reading her the newspaper because her maid couldn't finish school. So she would read to the maid. And we just thought, by hearing them, well, this is interesting. And then next morning with our pajamas, we started to film our first film, which is You and Me. Yes.
So a very personal motivation, working with people basically playing themselves. But let's back up a little bit, because you said you were in Santo Domingo, but you had not too long before graduated from film school in Cuba. But how did you both find yourselves coming together? Because Oriol, you're originally from Spain, and Natalia from the DR. Was it that you met in film school, and that was the beginning of your partnership? And how did you decide that you were going to stay in the Caribbean and work, rather than, say, move to Spain and start working there?
I don't know. I think that first, hello all the people, and thank you for the invitation. I think the first step was the script of Medium Lives, no? Because I think that before you're speaking out the difference of, we start to shooting documentaries, and Miriam Lives is a fiction. But I think that the Miriam Lives is, I remember when we start to writing the script, first start Natalia, no? and she writes a little like memories, no, of his adolescence, no, and this project is like a documentary that was impossible to film because it's 20 years later that the memories, no, but for us it's like a documentary. I don't know, it's I have to explain, no, because it's we in the origin of the project was memories and real memories, and next we start to develop and for example when we met the girls that interpret the girls, the Miriam and Jennifer, we like a lot that they improvise about her experience, no, their experience in real life, no, and I think that we try to work in this method, no, it's mix of reality and fiction, but the reality is very important, you know, the reality of us and the actors, no. I don't know if I explain it because my English is very bad, but I don't know if I think that Natalia can help me more about this idea, you know.
I can co-direct this idea.
Yeah, you can put they did this.
Yes. No, yes, we met at Cuba when we were studying film together. I majored in documentary and Muriel majored in fiction. And we actually, after Cuba, we moved to Spain because there was no real industry in the Dominican Republic. So we thought, well, let's learn in Spain. But then at that moment, the crisis began in Spain. And the industry kind of collapsed there. So then we thought, so then let's go to the Dominican Republic because the film law was starting there. And in this trip, that we had the script already for Medium Lies, and we realized that nobody was going to produce this film, mostly because of what the film is about. We thought, well, nobody's going to do it. We became producers ourselves, and we said, well, let's do it ourselves. And that's when also we decided to make You and Me.
Yeah, but in this moment we was writing the script, you know.
Yeah, we were writing the script also.
We had the idea to shoot the going to there and shoot the Miriam Lies. Yeah,
I think it's interesting that you mentioned that you see Miriam Lies almost like a documentary because there's something so subtle and nuanced about it. I think particularly in the Caribbean context, we're quite used to film performances that are bigger, plots that are a bit more dramatic quite often, especially in first films. And there's something really observational about the way that you've created Miriam Lies. Like it almost feels like we're waiting for it to unfold, like you were waiting for it to unfold, like you weren't necessarily driving it forward. I wondered how you kind of came to this. Was that an active choice that you made to keep it as kind of nuanced and minimal and yeah, that kind of very observational, almost semi-documentary feel to it?
Yeah, I think that mostly the idea was to try to be close to Miriam, the protagonist, but also close to this experience when you are in this age and you don't exactly understand what's going on and what people think about you, what they expect about you, but you don't even know yourself. So it's like you just like move along, but you're also like wondering and feeling inside. Like, so that was like very important to us to be close, to represent this experience as much as we knew, because we were also teenagers when we were growing up. So it was like a mix of our memories, the reality, but also the girls' experience and what they're feeling what they were feeling at that moment. We were very close to them creatively. They also kind of wrote some scenes, and we just let them improvise because they were so good at being teenagers, because they were. So we let them just flow. And we also tried to make the professional actors flow. They were like a little bit like, what is this? We're professionals, so we need the script and we need directions. But at the end, they went along with it. And that's why it feels so natural.
I find that intriguing because so this was the first project you had, but it was the third film you made. So you'd already had 2 films under your belts, and you'd made them in a particular way, and you were bringing, you know, some of the methods that you used in those first 2 films to this new film with your leads, who both, you know, well, I know definitely the actress playing Miriam was acting for the first time, and you know, there was improvisation and so on. But this and you know, and you had done that quite successfully in the first 2 films, but those were smaller scale films. Now you're working with a bigger budget, presumably, and as you say, professional actors. I'm wondering how you mentioned how your actors felt, but I wonder also how your producers, your you know, the funders and so on, you know, who you were you know, who had funded the project, kind of felt about this. Was this something that you told them in the beginning, this is how it's going to be, or did you furnish them with a shooting script, but then when you got on set, you said, look, let's start changing it up?
Oh, I think that for example, we are the producers of our films, of all of our films, and I think that it's important because you can. I think that it's too important to produce like direct, because if you want to change the workflow, you need to have the producer too, because it's very difficult. And for example, in Miriam Lies, we stayed 1 year looking for the doing casting. No, we went to schools and with our camera and speak about. I think that 500 girls we can see, no, and yeah, and you know, and I think that, for example, in this is in Dominican, in a tradition, a typical production is impossible. Working this, people see us with these people are crazy, because you know, and we pay a lot. We take our car and go with all of the schools of the city, you know, looking for Miriam. Yeah, we were going to Miriam and Jennifer, no, and next Laura, you know. And I think that this is too important, no, because I think that. If not, it's impossible. And I say that because people that work with you, and when you arrive to the shooting, you know, they know what they are working. No, it's obsessive people. we know what this people works in this method. No, it's strange. No, for example, we shooting with a long takes. Sometimes 23 to 24 minutes or one take, no? And I remember the people that make the boom man, no? They make the sound and stay, okay, please, when I see cut, okay, finally. He say, wow, it was incredible, but I don't have it's amazing, no? Because never in fiction, but they are accustomed to work in fiction, and you say no more than 30 seconds. We make takes with 23 minutes, no? But I think that is important because some scenes, some takes start to working in minute in 12, for example, no, you know, because in the start happens that in there are a moment that people stay front of camera, it's relaxed and staying in immersed in, no, deep in this conversation, and you probably take this moment. in editing room, no? And it's this method, no? You need to discover, no? For example, I remember a scene of Miriam Lies in the bathroom that was completely improvised, no? Because in the script we we put that the girls is smoke their first no, for the first time, no? And the parents don't want then the girls smoke, no? And but they say us, no, when in the same day, of the
Yes, they told us, oh no, we changed our minds.
no, and we say, wow, but this important scene in the film, no? And we answer to the girls, no? Wow, what can we do? And
yeah, we asked them like, what?
Yeah, and they say, wow, we can go to the bathroom and destroy
The bathroom.
say, okay, I see. It's a good idea. Well, go ahead, no? And we put the camera and start, no? And it's fantastic because I remember the girls, no? The Carolina, yeah, that interprets Jennifer, take us with no, de su casa, no? With our,
she took some perfume from her house.
Yeah, for her mother.
Real jewelry from her mother.
Yeah, all of the things of her mother, and put in the film, no, and destroy, no. And you're saying that this is the we are looking this energy in the films, you know, that the teenagers. I remember the Dulce when goes to home after 12 hours shooting the film. She arrived to her home and start to writing some scenes, no?
Scenes.
Scenes, yeah, because it's very motivated, no? And seeing that this type of things, no, that we are looking for, no?
I wanted to touch on, you know, one of the major themes of the film. I think for people who are not familiar with Dominican culture and issues of race and class, you know, as somebody who, I've never been to the Dominican Republic, but there's such a large Dominican diaspora in New York, and these ideas about race and class in the Dominican Republic kind of filter through. And you come to understand over time that, you know, darker skinned Dominicans are seen by family members maybe as not, you know, as valued as lighter skinned Dominicans. And this is one of the first films that I've seen that's dealt with it in this really subtle way, actually. No bad guys or good guys, but just everybody in the film seems to be trapped by these cultural norms. You know, can you talk a little bit about why you wanted to put that on screen and what the response was like from people within the Dominican Republic to the commentary that you're making in this film?
Yes, well, this film came out of my memories. Specifically, one memory that I told Uri that, well, I met a boy my age when I was 15 through the internet, and we fell in love. But then we didn't exchange pictures because we thought that it was very shallow. You know, we were into Kurt Cobain, so you know, it was like we were so profound. But then when we said, well, yes, let's meet, and I saw him coming first, and I saw him, and I saw that he was Black, I got like, I don't know, I freezed and I just walk away, and it was so confusing because I couldn't understand why I did it, because I didn't want to believe that I was a bad person. I didn't want to believe that I was a racist person, but I couldn't understand why I couldn't call him up and say, look, I'm sorry, or whatever, you know? And then years later, while I was writing about a project that I wanted to produce and film about Haitians and Dominicans and the conflicts that we had, I remember this, like, wow. And I understood that before getting into a country with before trying to understand the conflict with another nation. Maybe I had to understand our own conflict. So that's how it started. So I wrote everything that I remember, like that had to do with racism in my family, in other families that I knew in school. Like I wrote like 100 pages of moments like that. And then I gave it to Uriol, and he said, wow, we can make a film about this. It's very interesting. And of course, at this moment, he knew the Dominican Republic. He knew, you know, like he could put faces and landscapes in all of these little moments that I wrote. And that's how it started. And well, you know, it's difficult. It's a difficult subject because I think, like myself, when it happened to me, I think that nobody wants to feel that they're bad or that they're racist. But the truth is that we have a problem with our identity, and that sooner or later you have to do something about it. And everybody deals with it in its own personal way, I guess.
You explored the theme of race and class in your previous films, but not in the same way, not to the same extent. Those two films, screened at a number of international film festivals, and have been written about, and international audiences and critics have responded to them in a way I imagine that audiences in the DR perhaps would not. Could you say something about that? Like when you screen these films internationally and to international audiences, and Miriam Miente would have had a theatrical release in Spain, I think. What the reaction to audiences there would have been to seeing this film and your previous films, as opposed to the reactions in the DR.
Mm-hmm. Yes, well, like for example, with Tu y Yo, You and Me, which is a film about a white widow that lives with her maid, which is Black. I thought that film was really going to open up the debate about those subjects here. And I was wrong. I mean, when we took the film outside, it was easier to talk about it. And everybody would ask us about Aridia, the maid. And everybody was, after the film, everybody was really compelled by her and everybody was really interested. But then in the Dominican Republic, it was the other way around. Like everybody would talk about the white widow, the boss, and nobody talked about Aridia. And it was like, but it was so weird, and I was so disappointed. Like I thought it was my fault also. Like I didn't make a stronger film about it. Yeah, I was really disappointed, but it's. But I understood how difficult it was to really talk about it. Like people wouldn't understand. Like people would go up to us like, why did you put this Black girl that doesn't even know how to read and write in a film? It's like we're so ashamed. Like it was really with Medium Lies, I mean, the positive thing about it was a co-production, and it went well in festivals. So yeah, that helps us a lot. But I remember at the beginning, Oriol, somebody wrote you, right? Somebody wrote you,
yeah,
I think at your Facebook or something, like really aggressively telling you like, why are you talking about them? Like it was really when Medium Lies came out, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but extremists, no? Some people that
yeah.
But I think that in Dominican Republic, for example, the reaction for the Medium Lies, it's very opposite, no? I think there are some people that say us that was very interesting and that and they want more films like this, no? I think that, no? And you know that sensation, no? That's that emotion. And there are other people that say that the things that happens in Miriam Lies, no? That these stories in Dominican Republic don't happen.
It's not true.
Not true. And I'm very, yes, it's very, and I think that it's interesting because when I think, no, because, you know, it's interesting that it's very opposite to confront people, no? I think when happens this, I think that there are a problem. You know, it's something like, you know, it's it. And I think that in the you and me, I think that happens something similar, and other things that, like they say, Natalia says about happens in Dominican Republic, but a lot of people say that nothing happens in the film, no? Remember? And nothing happens.
Yes.
And say, wow, it's interesting, no? Because yeah, because in I think for me, it's in every moment there are a lot of, you know,
Tension.
Tension and the story, you know, story. And I think that for this reason we start to shooting, no? When I say in this, you remember, Natalia, when I started, you say, wow, it's in this cocina, how to say, in
kitchen.
In this kitchen, it's you know, it's the country, no? And
yes, she's talking about you and me, like inside the kitchen there you can understand a country. Yes.
Yeah. And something happens interesting for example, when we stayed in other places like Colombia, no? I think that some countries they identify
with Medium Lies, for example. When we would go to Cuba or Panama or Colombia, they would say, "Oh no, it's exactly like here. It's exactly like here."
Yeah.
Yeah, this could be a film. This could be a Colombian film, or a Panamanian film, or a Cuban film, or a Puerto Rican film.
But this speaks to, you know, the culture partly in not just in the Dominican Republic, but in the Caribbean as a whole, because in other Caribbean countries, you often get a similar reaction when people make these kinds of films that expose, you know, some of the deep social problems in the society. You get audiences saying things like, why do you want to talk about these things? We should be, you know, showing our country in a more positive light.
Yes.
Do you think that with the development of the Dominican film industry recently, in a way that, you know, it's really, you know, been growing, you know, and really moving ahead in the way, you know, other countries in you know, ahead of other countries in the region, really, and not only with you know, there's a great sort of popular cinema, of course, but, you know, there are other filmmakers like you and Uri who are making, you know, films that really look at the country seriously. Do you think audiences are seeing these films and responding in a different way now than they might have done when they first saw films like Tuyo?
Well, yes, I think that, for example, people here were more used to just watching comedy, like local comedy, and also films from the, you know, mostly from the United States. And yes, I think that, I mean, not everybody, but some people are understanding that there are different kinds of films. Yes, but, you know, but also, I mean, the cinema industry is getting bigger and stronger, but the country is still having the same problems. I mean, we're having like a big economical growth the last years, but that economical growth doesn't get into education, health, and everything. So, you know, we're happy that we have a cinema law, but at the same time, the country is not moving ahead.
I wonder if anybody.
I don't know if you want to add something, Woody.
You want to say anything else, Ariel?
No, it's fine.
Okay.
We've been chatting for quite a bit, so I just wanted to see if there was anybody in the audience who had a question that they wanted to ask. I see we're beaming into a classroom as well. Any questions you wanted to put to Oriol or Natalia?
I have a practical question. Maybe we could ask. I could ask while people are thinking of maybe a question to ask, and it's about working between the DR and Spain, because you live in both places, and I know you've been based in Spain through the pandemic. I think most of the time you've been there. How does it work for you? And what particular challenges or opportunities do you find working between both places?
With Miriam Les, it was great to have a co-producer, but also in our other films, we usually, even if it's not like an institutional co-production, it is always somehow a co-production, because we work with editors from Spain, and for example, the sound post-production, we always do it there. And it's interesting just to have somebody always from another country watching the films, and also putting their own experiences from another industry into the film, right, Woody?
Yeah, and in terms of creative and ideas, I think that, for example, for me was very interesting and important in my life. Both when I went to Cuba to study filmmaking, no, and we met Natalia, but a lot of friends from all of Colombia, Cuba, and Venezuela, and in this moment start to open the mind, no? And I think that in terms of co-direction now, no, I with Natalia, and Natalia with me, no, and I think that it's very interesting because, for example, Miriam Lies, Natalia writing something like memories, and I have the distance, no, I don't know, but I think that this and the opposite, we work a lot in this method, no, one is right, and also and another have the distance. I have the, and that I think that is very it's a secret, I don't know, but but because it's difficult to, I think that we stay with one feet in one country, another feet in other country in no, every time, no, and helps us with no, because for example in Dominican Republic is very interesting, the film industry, because there are a lot of opportunities and people are very friendly, and it's amazing work there, no, but sometimes need other looking, no, and for example we start to edit and in Spain, for example the girl that edits with us don't know nothing about Dominican Republic, never stayed there, no, and in the first time when she was with us, no, and in
Miriam Lies,
we don't meet her before, no, it's and I think that it's important to know, because we shoot something very local, but need that the punch was in universal, and I think that is, I don't know, what do you want to say, Natalia, about that?
Yeah, I think that, and because the memories were so personal, and because everybody around you tells you that is not true, what you lived and what you think about your country, it's nice to hear others. It's nice to hear others, because maybe you're crazy. But when others say, well, yeah, then you are like, okay, because at the beginning, as I said, nobody wanted to produce Medium Lies in the Dominican Republic. But the first producer that we showed the script to, he was like, wow, in Spain. So we had a co-producer first. So that was good because that person didn't have any opinion of Dominican Republic whatsoever. That person he had never gone to Dominican Republic before that moment. So it was very objective. Like he just had the script in his hand, and he was like, he had an opinion as a producer, filmmaker, that's it. So that was important.
Great. I see Naomi's been waiting, primed for a little bit. Do you have a question?
I just came up close so I could speak. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm Naomi Wood. I'm a professor in the US and Colorado, so I'm here with my class. Can't see all of them, but we watched the film yesterday. So thank you so much for putting this together. It was such amazing timing. I'm teaching a Spanish class, but my research focuses on the Caribbean and gender and race and popular culture. So I was really excited to see the film myself, but I'm going to represent a question that they had. So I'm the spokesperson. And we had a lot of questions and observations about the different personajes, the characters.
The characters,
And in particular about Fernando and his choice to not talk to Miriam about Blackness or about the racism that he had experienced, or he doesn't directly say why his father-in-law rejected him, even though we know that from the other perspective. But if you could speak more about that choice. Anything else on here? Yeah. Okay, we'll start with that. About the father and the relationships.
Okay, I think that, thank you for the answer. I think that Fernando don't respond because he knows that Miriam knows. You know, every people knows what happens, no? And I think that is more powerful the silence, no, in this moment, no, because Fernando knows, Miriam knows, and finally the spectators,
spectators,
spectators knows, no, every people knows, but nobody.
Everybody knows.
Everybody knows, but nobody speaks about that, no, and I think that this is the film, no.
We felt that very strongly at the end, just the emotion, all of the unsaid things, and so much built up that at the end you're still holding it, right? There's not a resolution. We don't get to like let those feelings go somewhere else. We stay with them, and that's reality. So the other question, just while I'm here, and then I'll sit back down, was about the friendship between Miriam and Jennifer, which was so beautiful, and it's having them knowing that they did spontaneous creation together is really nice also, and probably was pleasurable for them. I was thinking about this, I was talking to younger people also about hopes and what do they see as happening and what are they speaking about directly and what is not being spoken about, and the things that Miriam and Jennifer spoke to each other about with Jennifer's parents, and then with Miriam telling her that Jean-Louis is Black, and how at the end they're the ones who are together still, this friendship that is lasting. And I'm wondering about your own, since this is partially autobiographical in a way, like how you see generational changes and what is being spoken about among maybe younger generations in terms of, right, just naming that there's racism, or having friendships that allow for more intimacy across different experiences, and what the film is doing by highlighting that particular friendship, if that makes sense.
I think that we thought that it was nice that Miriam had like a confidant, like somebody that she could not maybe talk about it because it wasn't something that she could understand at the moment, but just to have somebody there just to be a teenager. And in my memories, I remember how it was to have a best friend, like you would feel that you would love this best friend more than your family, more than anything, so I wanted to capture that and put it in the film. And even though time passed by in the film, even though when the film started, their faces are in some way, and then when it finishes, their faces are in another way. Yeah, it's something that I want the film to have, like this, this friendship that that would allow her to lay back a little bit. And I think that every generation is going to have something to face, you know, a conflict. Now, you know, the big thing is like the Instagram and TikTok, and how not like the pressure, that pressure I didn't have when I was a teenager, you know, this pressure of being liked in this new way, but I know how it was in my time, you know, and it was a pressure, it was still pressure. And I think that teenagers will always feel pressure, because the need of love and understanding at that moment in life is so strong without experience, and it's so strong. And you think you need so much to fit in, that is going to break your heart in a million pieces. I mean, I still have that need, but not that savage, you know, like when you're a teenager. So I also wanted to capture that in the film.
We have a question that's been put into the chat by Hannah, and it's a two-parter. First of all, she says, thank you so much for the interesting discussion and for organizing the event. My first question is about working with the young actors, and I was hoping you could tell us more about their expectations in the filmmaking process. What aspects of their lives did the girls want to see represented, and where the issues that mattered, what were the issues that mattered to them the most?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we could say that the three girls in the film, they're studying film right now. Yes, the three of them.
Amazing.
Yes. And you know, it was exciting, but it was confusing for them. But there was something about wanting to make this film, you know, because the parents, they wanted to overprotect them or protect them, you know, so they didn't want them to work like extra hours or to talk about certain subjects, because, you know, they just wanted to protect her, and I understand that. But even so, you know, those problems that they had, and because of course they felt insecure because it was something that they were doing for the first time, there was something that drove them to make the film. I mean, when we had to cut and do it again, and I would go to them, they were like, no, we know, let's do it again. You know, like they were like, I don't know, it was great to work with them, because, you know, sometimes there's a lot of talk about like teenagers being so lost and not knowing what they want and blah, blah, blah. But these girls, they were like, they knew better than everybody. And maybe that's why they're now studying this, you know, like there was something there even before we came along.
It's amazing that you found
For
them.
example, in the case of Dulce, that Miriam's, no, in the film, it's very interesting because she have a lot of a very conscience of the racism in her, you know, in herself, no, and she speaks. I remember the first casting, no, the first day that we met in casting. She explained a lot of stories about 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 racism, racism. I don't know. For example, I remember when they explained that her mom, how to say the hair, el pelo. You know, I remember that her mom wants to say that you need to straighten the hair, and she say no, and I think that was very interesting for us, because in this moment she had 13 years old, no? And have a very strong personality, no? And for example, I remember that we answered her that if she had a boyfriend, no, and he said that not because her mom wants a white boyfriend, no, for her, and she say that no, she say by mom in my college, no, in my school. In my school, don't have white people. All of them is black, no? And they say it's this type of things. But I think that was interesting because she have a lot of security in no, and explain us. And I remember the first time that she read the script, and he say, "Why?" She say, "Wow, I understand why you shoot me, no, because I am Miriam, this is my life, no." And and yeah, I think that we work with girls that very interesting and very intelligent, no. And
the second part of Hannah's question, which we have to answer quite quickly, got only a few minutes left before the next Q&A begins. The second part of her question was, what was your experience like in film school in Cuba around race and racism?
I think that Cuban society and Dominican society, we share common threads. And like, for example, of course, there's also racism there, and there's also denial there. But, they have, like the regime has changed them so much that we were amazed about other things, like, for example, freedom of saying what you want to say. And for me, for example, it was very interesting to live in another Caribbean country, because even though Caribbean countries, we have similarities and we are close. I mean, we're not so far away. We're very far away, actually, from each other. It's very hard to get to know each other and to travel even. And so for me, it was like mind-blowing just to understand that I was from the Caribbean. That was the first time that I understood that I was from the Caribbean. It may sound crazy, but I had to go to another Caribbean place to understand, oh, there is a region actually. It's not only like United States over there, New York, Washington Heights, and then Europe over there, and then maybe Mexico down there, Argentina. I mean, I really understood that I was from the Caribbean. And then because I went to Cuba, and I understood that, I knew that the next step was go to Haiti. Even though Haiti is right there, but it's not right there in some other ways. So for me, actually, going to Cuba, it was like going to the Caribbean, even though I was always there. But it's like figuring out a lot of things about my identity.
We should wrap up for this Q&A. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Natalia. Thank you,
Thank
Ariel.
you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Fantastic. And I personally really love this film. I really enjoyed it. And I have tons of questions, but really need to wrap up. I also want to thank you again, Jonathan and Lisa, for coordinating this Q&A so brilliantly. So thank you again. And now we should move to the second Q&A. So I hope some of you will stay with us for this conversation with Nicolas Videla and Junaid Kakirlar. Are you there, guys?
I'm here, yes.
Yes, well, thank you for having us. And
yes,
Hi, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you again.
the rest of the films.
Take care, everyone.